All right, we're switching back to vocabulary now. This is just to keep you on the edge of your seat. We don't want you to get bored with vocabulary or math. So again, we're talking about our Tier 2 words. How many people have ever seen a teacher say, turn to the words at the end of the chapter and define them? It doesn't happen? Good. It doesn't happen anymore. Should textbooks be the only factor in determining our list? Hopefully these teachers are well trained in Common Core and they know what words they need to put the emphasis on.
Okay, once you've determined those Tier 2 words, then you're going to be looking at how we're going to monitor for progress as students engage in making meaning of those words, and they're going to be actively engaged in the classroom, and the teacher's going to be engaging them with her modeling of the vocabulary. This is an example of how you might create a progress monitoring tool. This is only an example. The next slide is a vocabulary monitoring probe developed from thinking about how we're going to monitor progress with vocabulary. There is a McCrell process, 5-step process for teaching vocabulary. Step 1 is to present the students with a brief explanation, and the teacher does that so they get the correct explanation of the word, and she gives it to them, the new word, term, or phrase, and they discuss it and do all of the things to engage so that they understand that new term. Then the students watch as the teacher presents a non-linguistic representation of the word. One of the examples that I come up with that gets vivid in my mind is mutualism. And the picture that comes to my mind is a crocodile with a bird in its mouth on the side of a creek or wherever they live. And you think this plover is in dangerous territory. But actually, mutualism is where two organisms benefit from each other. And the plover is actually in the alligator's mouth to clean the alligator's teeth. So, you know, a non-verbal representation of the term. Then once the teacher has done that and modeled that, then she guides the students as they do the same thing. Come up with a linguistic definition of the word in their own terms, own words. Then she asks them to come up with a non-linguistic pictorial representation of that word from their understanding. Then they post an agreed upon definition with an agreed upon pictorial representation. As the teacher goes through the lesson, they may change what they have as their class definition. So it changes maybe as the instruction goes forth. But then those things are posted on the wall. And so that's the 5 steps. And that's Marzano's McCrell. You can get that off the website there and use that with your faculty. But then a vocabulary monitoring probe there. An example, as I said before, of how this might be monitored for fidelity. And you could see how students are doing and how they're gaining the vocabulary terms. And Sam's going to talk a little bit about math and how they monitored that.
Well, as a school, this is what we would do. This when our teachers got together. They collaborated, did their planning on a weekly basis. This is just them in our data room where they're actually working, either doing the CFAs or working on their unit plans and lesson plans. And within those meetings, they had grade level norms, so they knew exactly, they knew they went in there to take care of business, not just going in there just to conversate. And this is our data room. We had our data, our discipline data. We would take a look at that, look at our CRCC data for each kid. This is how, that way you can see how many kids were in co-teaching, how many kids were in resource, and if one team was overloaded with resource kids, or with special ed kids or not. We would look at them by teams. And we would look at all the math. This is the math teacher looking at their math scores and saying how the kids or what actions they need to do to pull these kids up. As far as the progress monitoring part she talked about, that's what I talked about that part earlier with all our probes and stuff that we use.
Notice this is down to the individual student on their wall. And not only, but they put little dots on those student cards when a certain strategy has been used effectively with that student.
On that wall we had a dot for every strategy that we used with that kid. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, that kid. If we want to see that kid with a red dot, blue dot, a star, or a diamond, and so that know what we've been doing with that particular student.
On this slide are things that you might use if you decide this is a strategy we want to implement, and I'm doing this in terms of vocabulary.